Jessica came to see me 3 days later. She did not arrive in a black car. She took the bus. She wore old jeans and a jumper with a hole in the sleeve. Her hair was back to its natural color, brown, like mine. I still remember the sound of the key turning in the lock. Not my key, her key. My daughter's key. The metal scraped against the lock like a small cold animal trying to escape. I was sitting on my old brown suitcase in the hallway of the house I had lived in for 23 years. The house where I had changed her nappies. The house where I had waited up for her to come home from her first date. The house where her father had taken his last breath. And now, that same daughter was standing at the door with a folded piece of paper in her hand. She was not crying. She was not angry. She was just empty. Like she had already decided that I was nothing more than a piece of furniture she no longer had room for. "You need to leave, Mum," she said. "The lawyers will send the paperwork." I looked past her into the living room. The new sofa had arrived. The one she bought the day after the money hit her account. $33 million. Her startup had been bought by a company in Silicon Valley. I had helped her pack sandwiches for late nights at her desk. I had watched her grandson while she went to meetings. I had believed in her when no one else did. And now she was holding the door open for me. Not like a daughter. Like a stranger. I picked up my suitcase. It weighed almost nothing. Because almost nothing in that house was mine anymore. And as I walked down the front steps into the cold gray morning, I thought to myself, she will call. Not today. Not tomorrow, but soon. Because money cannot fill the hole where a mother's love used to be. Let me take you back. Not to the betrayal, but to the beginning. My name is Alina. I am 67 years old. I live in a small rented flat on the outskirts of Bristol now. But for most of my life, I lived in a modest 3-bedroom house in a suburb called Filton. The house was nothing special. Peeling wallpaper in the hallway. A garden that grew more weeds than flowers. But it was ours. My husband, David, bought it with his bonus from the factory in 1999. He was a good man, quiet, hardworking. He fixed the boiler himself when it broke. He painted my kitchen cupboards yellow because he knew I loved sunflowers. We had one daughter, Jessica, our miracle. I was 38 when she was born. David was 42. We had tried for years. Clinics and prayers and tears. And then she came. Small and screaming and perfect. I remember holding her in the hospital and thinking my life is complete. I did not know then that the same child would one day hold all the power and use it to push me out. Jessica was a bright girl. Too bright sometimes. She got into trouble at school for talking back to teachers. But I never punished her harshly. I thought her fire would serve her well someday. David was softer with her. He called her his little princess. He worked double shifts to send her to piano lessons. He cried at her school plays. When she was 18, she got a scholarship to study business in London. We were so proud. David took a second mortgage on the house to cover the rest of her expenses. I sold my mother's engagement ring. We did not hesitate, because that is what parents do. We break ourselves to build our children. Jessica graduated with first-class honors. She moved to London for a job at a tech firm. Then she moved to San Francisco for a startup. David and I did not understand the tech world, but we trusted her. She was our girl. Then David got sick. Pancreatic cancer. It was fast. 6 months from diagnosis to the end. Jessica flew back twice. Once when he started chemotherapy. Once for the funeral. She cried at the grave. Real tears. I held her hand and thought at least we still have each other. After David passed, the house felt enormous and empty. Jessica called once a week, sometimes twice. She called me Mum. She sent flowers on my birthday. She sent pictures of her new apartment in California. I was lonely, but I was proud. The startup grew. She met a man named Mark, a venture capitalist. They moved into a bigger apartment. Then a house. Then a house with a pool. The money was coming. I did not ask for any of it. I lived on David's pension and my small state benefit. I drove a 15-year-old car. I mended my clothes. I was fine. Then the news came. $33 million, a buyout. Jessica called me at 6 a.m. my time. She was screaming, "Mom, we did it. We are rich." I cried with her. I told her how proud I was. I told her David would have been so happy. She said she would buy me something nice. A new car, maybe. I said I did not need a new car. I just needed her to be happy. She laughed. "I will call you tomorrow," she said. She did not call tomorrow, or the day after, or the week after. The calls became shorter. The visits stopped. When I called her, she sounded distracted. "Busy? Yes, Mum." "Love you, Mum." "Got to go, Mum." I told myself it was the pressure of the money, the stress of sudden wealth. I told myself she would come back to me. She was just adjusting. I was wrong. She was not adjusting. She was changing. And the change was not gentle. The trigger came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was in the garden pulling weeds. My knees hurt. The soil was dry. The phone rang. It was Jessica. But her voice was different, formal, like she was reading from a script. "Mum, I need you to come to London. I have some papers for you to sign." "What papers?" I asked. "Just some things about the house," she said. "The house in Filton. It is still in your name and Dad's name. We need to update the ownership." I did not understand. "Why do we need to update it?" She sighed. "Mum, it is complicated. Just come." I took the train to London the next morning. I wore my best coat, the blue one. Jessica picked me up from Paddington Station in a black car with a driver. She was wearing a suit. A real suit. Expensive. Her hair was different, blonder, straighter. She hugged me, but her body was stiff, like she was hugging a colleague, not a mother. She took me to a glass building near the river. Lawyers. 2 of them. A man and a woman. They had papers spread across a long table. Jessica sat at the head of the table. Not next to me. Across from me. The woman lawyer smiled a cold smile. "Elena, your daughter, has asked us to prepare documents transferring the Filton property into her name alone. As per the terms of your late husband's, well, the house was left jointly to you and Jessica. However, there is a clause that allows either party to request full ownership if financial circumstances change." I stared at Jessica. "Financial circumstances," I said. Jessica did not look at me. "Mum, you cannot afford to keep the house. The upkeep. The repairs. It does not make sense. I will sell it. You can use the money to rent somewhere smaller." I asked where I would live. She shrugged. "That is your choice, Mum. I am not throwing you on the street. I am being practical." The sharp turning point sentence came from my own mouth. I whispered so low I barely heard myself. "You are stealing my home." Jessica finally looked at me. Her eyes were not my daughter's eyes. They were hard, flat, like glass. She said, "No, Mum. I am taking back what is mine." The papers were signed. Not by me. I refused. But Jessica had already filed a claim. Within 2 weeks, a court order arrived. Eviction. 30 days. I sat on the floor of my bedroom, reading the letter over and over. The house where I had rocked her to sleep. The house where David had died, gone. Not a fight. Not a conversation. A signature from a judge who did not know my name. On the 30th day, I packed one suitcase. I left the yellow kitchen cabinets. I left the garden with its weeds. I left the bedroom where I had dreamed of growing old. And I walked out with nothing but a blue notebook and a broken heart. For the first 3 days, I stayed in a cheap hotel near the Bristol bus station. The carpet smelled of cigarettes. The window looked out onto a brick wall. I ate toast and tea from the machine in the lobby. I did not call anyone. I was too ashamed. How do you tell your friends that your own daughter threw you out? How do you explain that $33 million bought her a new house, but not a new heart? On the 4th day, I found a small flat to rent. 1 bedroom. A kitchenette. A bathroom with a shower that only ran cold. The landlord was a kind Pakistani man named Mr. Khan. He did not ask for references. He saw my gray hair and my shaking hands, and he said first month is half price, madam. I cried in front of him. I did not mean to. He handed me a tissue and said nothing. The private costs. Let me tell you about them. I stopped buying fresh vegetables. Too expensive. I bought frozen peas and instant noodles. I stopped taking my thyroid medication for 2 weeks because I chose to pay the electric bill instead. I lost 8 pounds. Not intentional. My hands shook more than usual. At night, I lay in bed and listened to the neighbors arguing through the thin walls. A young couple. They shouted about money, about rent, about whose turn it was to buy milk. I wanted to knock on their door and tell them I understood. I did not. I just listened. The loneliness was the worst part. My phone did not ring. I checked it every morning. Nothing. No text from Jessica. No sorry, Mom. No how are you. Just silence. I called my sister Margaret, who lives in Scotland. Margaret is 5 years older than me. She has a pacemaker and 3 cats. She listened to my story without interrupting. Then she said, I told you that girl was always selfish. I did not defend Jessica, because Margaret was right. There had been signs. Small ones. When Jessica was a teenager, she once stole 50 pounds from my purse. I caught her. She cried and promised never to do it again. But she never said sorry. Not really. She just said she needed the money for a party. When I told her stealing was wrong, she rolled her eyes and said all my friends get money from their parents. And when she got her first job in London, she forgot my birthday for 3 years in a row. I made excuses for her. She is busy. She is building her career. She will remember next year. She did not. The escalation. 2 weeks after the eviction, I received a letter from a solicitor. Jessica was claiming that certain items in the house were hers. A painting that David had bought. A set of silver cutlery my mother had left me. A clock that had been in David's family for 4 generations. The letter said I had 7 days to return them or face legal action. I did not have the painting or the cutlery or the clock. Jessica had taken them before I left. I had watched her movers carry them out. She was not trying to get them back. She was trying to hurt me. 1 month after the eviction, I went to the local council office to ask for help with my housing benefit. The woman at the desk was young, maybe 25. She looked at my paperwork. She looked at my story. Then she said very quietly, "Your daughter did this to you." I nodded. She said, "I am so sorry." Those 3 words from a stranger meant more to me than any of Jessica's promises. I started keeping a diary again. A blue notebook. I had used one when David was dying. It helped me sort my thoughts. Now I wrote down every date, every letter, every silent day that passed without a call from my daughter. The notebook filled up quickly. 2 months after the eviction, something happened that I did not expect. I received a letter from a law firm in London. Not Jessica's lawyers. Different ones. The letter said, "Please contact us regarding the estate of your late husband, David. There has been a new development." I did not understand. David had been dead for 4 years. His estate was settled. The house was gone. The pension was paid. What new development? I called the number on the letter. A woman answered. Her name was Sarah. She was a probate solicitor. She asked me if I was sitting down. I said I was. Then she told me something that changed everything. Sarah, the solicitor, spoke slowly and clearly. She said, "Mrs. Clark, do you remember a life insurance policy your husband took out through his workplace?" I said no. David never mentioned life insurance. He had a small policy through the factory, enough to cover the funeral. That was all. Sarah said there was another policy, a private one, taken out in 1999, the year Jessica was born. I asked who was the beneficiary. Sarah paused. Then she said, "The beneficiary was originally your husband's mother, but she passed away in 2005. After that, the policy reverted to the contingent beneficiary. That should have been you. But there was a complication. The paperwork was misfiled. The insurance company lost the records. They only discovered the policy last month during a routine audit. Mrs. Clark, the policy is worth £200,000, plus interest. It is yours." I put the phone down. I picked it up again. I called Sarah back. I asked her to repeat what she had said. She did. £200,000, hidden, lost, found. In my name. Not Jessica's. David had taken out that policy to protect me. To protect us. He did not know it was lost. He died thinking I had nothing. But he had given me something after all. A gift from the grave. The next day, I went to the library and used their computer. I printed out all the documents Sarah sent me. I read them 10 times. Then I called my sister Margaret. Margaret said, "Do not tell Jessica. Do not tell anyone. That money is yours. You earned it. You suffered for it. Keep it safe." I agreed. But I also knew something Margaret did not know. I knew that Jessica's new house, the one she bought with her $33 million, it was not fully paid for. I had seen a letter on her kitchen table one day when I visited. A mortgage statement. She had taken out a loan. A big one. £7 million. She had bought a property development company, a hotel in Cornwall, a flat in London. She was leveraged, rich on paper, but fragile underneath. If anything went wrong, if the hotel lost money, if the property market dropped, she could lose everything. I did not wish that on her, but I also did not warn her, because she had not warned me before she threw me out. The power balance had shifted. I did not celebrate. I did not gloat. I simply sat in my small flat with my cold shower and my frozen peas, and I thought about what it means to be a mother. A mother protects. A mother forgives. But a mother also learns. I made a quiet plan. I would not tell Jessica about the money. I would wait. I would see if she ever called. I would see if she ever said sorry. And if she did, if she truly did, I would decide what to do next. The ball was in her court, but the game had changed. I did not touch the insurance money for 3 months. It sat in a separate account, a different bank, a small building society in a town 20 miles away. I told no one except Margaret. I changed my own habits. I started buying fresh vegetables again. Just a few, a carrot, an onion, some potatoes. I paid my rent on time. I bought my thyroid medication. I even bought a small radio. I listened to classical music in the evenings. It reminded me of David. He loved Beethoven. I also started going to a community center once a week. They had tea and biscuits and a knitting circle. I did not know how to knit, but the women, they were kind. They did not ask about Jessica. They called me a leaner. They saved me a seat by the window. Small things, but they rebuilt me slowly, one thread at a time. I also made a legal move. Sarah, the solicitor, helped me. I wrote a new will. In it, I left everything to a children's hospice near David's hometown. Not to Jessica. I sat with that decision for 2 weeks. I cried over it. I prayed over it. But I did not change it. Because I realized something. Jessica had $33 million. She did not need my $200,000. But a hospice. A place where dying children laugh and play and try to live one more day. That place needed it. That choice was not revenge. It was justice. I also wrote a letter to Jessica. I did not send it. I just wrote it. I wrote it in my blue notebook. It said, "My darling girl, I loved you before you were born. I loved you through every tantrum and every mistake and every silent birthday. I love you still. But love is not a doormat. Love is not a bank account you empty when you are full. I am not angry. I am just tired. When you are ready to be my daughter again. Not a businesswoman. Not a rich woman. Just my daughter. I will be here, your mom." I folded the letter and put it inside the notebook. And I waited. The waiting was hard. Some days I wanted to call her. Some days I wanted to scream at her. Some days I wanted to pretend none of it had happened. But I did not call. I did not scream. I just lived. Day after day. Small flat. Cold shower. Radio. Knitting circle. Frozen peas. And then, on a Tuesday, exactly 4 months after she threw me out, my phone rang. It was Jessica. She was crying. I did not answer the first call. I let it ring. I watched her name appear on the screen, Jessica. My heart pounded, but I did not pick up. She called again 5 minutes later. I answered this time. "Hello, Jessica." She was sobbing. Not quiet tears. Loud, ugly sobs. The kind of crying you do when you have broken something you cannot fix. "Mum," she said. "Mum, I messed up." I stayed silent. She kept talking. The words came out in a rush. The hotel in Cornwall. It lost money. The flat in London. The tenant stopped paying. The property market crashed. The bank called in the loan. She had sold everything. The big house, the car, the painting, the silver, the clock. It was not enough. She owed millions. Mark had left her. He took the car and the dog and the friends. She was alone. She had nothing. "Mum," she said, "I have nothing." I asked her where she was. "In a hotel," she said. "A cheap one. Near the bus station." I did not say I told you so. I did not say you deserve this. I said nothing for a long time. Then I said, "Jessica, do you remember the day you threw me out?" She stopped crying. She went silent. I said, "You stood at the door. You did not hug me. You did not say sorry. You just held the door open." She whispered, "I remember, Mum." I said, "I am not going to do that to you. I am not going to hold the door open and push you out. I am your mother. And a mother's job is not to punish. A mother's job is to teach. She asked what I meant. I told her about the insurance policy. The £200,000. She gasped. I thought you would be angry, I said. But you should know. That money is mine. And I have decided what to do with it. She waited, I said. I will give you £50,000. Not a loan, a gift. No strings. You can use it to pay off your smallest debts. Find a flat. Get a job. Start over. But Jessica, the rest of the money is not for you. It is for Children's Hospice. That is my choice. She started crying again, but softer this time. She said, "Thank you, Mom." "Thank you." I said, "Do not thank me yet. You have work to do. You have to become someone who deserves help. And that starts with saying sorry. Not to me. To yourself." She asked if she could come see me. I said yes. But not today. Today I need to think. She said okay. She said, "I love you, Mom." I said, "I love you too, always. Even when you forget." I hung up. Then I sat in the dark for a long time. And I cried. Not sad tears. Not happy tears. Just tears. Because forgiveness is heavy. And carrying it alone is the hardest thing a mother can do. Looked tired. But she looked like my daughter again. She stood at my door. The door to my small flat. The one with the cold shower and the frozen peas. She did not speak. She just looked at me. Then she fell into my arms. We held each other on the doorstep for a long time. I did not count the minutes. She stayed for 2 hours. We drank tea from my mismatched cups. She told me everything. The lies she told herself. The greed she thought was ambition. The way the money made her feel powerful and empty at the same time. She said the worst part was not losing the money. The worst part was realizing what she had become. I listened. I did not lecture. I did not say I forgive you, because I knew forgiveness would take time. But I did say I am here. That was enough. The new boundaries. Jessica moved into a small room in a shared house. She got a job. Not a CEO job. A normal job. An admin assistant at a dental practice. She earns £24,000 a year. She calls me every Sunday. She sends me photos of her garden. A small pot of basil on the windowsill. She is paying back what she owes, slowly, honestly. She has not asked me for more money. I gave her the £50,000. She used it to pay off a credit card and put a deposit on a rental flat. She did not ask for the rest. The Children's Hospice received the donation. They sent me a letter. A thank you card with a drawing of a rainbow. I keep it on my fridge. The moral. The real lesson. People ask me, Alina, do you regret helping her? Do you regret giving her £50,000 after what she did? I say no. Because the money was never the point. The point was this. My daughter needed to learn that money cannot buy love. But more importantly, I needed to learn that love does not mean letting yourself be destroyed. I kept my dignity. I kept my boundaries. I kept most of David's gift for children who would never steal from their parents. And I kept my door open. Not wide open like before. Just open enough. Because a mother's heart has a door. And it can close. But it never locks completely. One reflective closing line. Love does not keep score. But it does draw a line. And the bravest thing you can do is know where that line belongs. If you have ever been hurt by someone, you gave everything to know this. You are allowed to help. And you are allowed to say no. Share this real life story with a friend who needs to hear it. And subscribe to Her Voices for more calm, emotional stories about family and forgiveness and the quiet strength of starting over.